For 18 years, I was the perfect heiress of Los Angeles. Then one day, on a whim, my mother took us to a small fishing town down the coast to inspect some of her properties. Suddenly, a girl appeared out of nowhere, blocking our car and wailing her heart out. She accused me of stealing her life for the past 18 years. After a blood test, my useless, spoiled rotten brother started fawning all over her like a lost puppy. They whispered lies to my mother, teaming up to isolate me. In my last life, that's how they plotted against me. In the end, my cold-hearted mother threw me out of the Reed family like a piece of trash. Even my so-called birth parents avoided me like the plague. Not only that, but Mia secretly sold me to the mob, where I suffered one humiliation after another. Finally, they threw me into the icy ocean to feed the fish. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Mia blocked our car. I looked at her face, etched with jealousy and greed, then walked past her to my mother. Mom, for the sake of the Reed family's reputation, we should all go get a DNA test. As soon as I said it, Mia's eyes went red. What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying I'm lying? Or are you just not willing to give back what's mine? My brother Leo scoffed. What a joke. Some random brat crawls out of a fishing town and dares to claim she's a Reed. I looked directly into the car. Mom, for the family's reputation, I think it's best we all get tested. After all, the data doesn't lie. A dead silence fell over us, broken only by the sound of waves crashing on the shore. My mother studied me through the car window for a full 30 seconds. Chloe has a point. Get in. We're all going to the clinic for a test. The order was given. I turned and gracefully opened the car door for Mia, who was still kneeling on the ground in a daze. In this family, my mother was the one and only queen. As for my father, the man who married into her money, no matter how sorry or guilty he felt, he was nothing more than her accessory. Mia had probably never been in such a luxurious car. She didn't know what to do with her hands and feet. The lingering smell of fish that clung to her clashed horribly with the car's expensive air freshener. My mother's brow furrowed deeply, and she subtly shifted away from Mia. When we arrived at the top private DNA lab, Mia immediately squeezed out a few tears and looked at my mother, her face pale. She was hoping her little trick would earn a shred of my mother's pity. But she didn't understand. My mother, who lived on a different plane of existence, couldn't stand that kind of classless, petty display. She would only find it irritating, not pitiful in the slightest. When playing the victim failed, Mia directed all her anger at me, seething. Chloe, when the results come in, the first thing I'll do is make sure you get kicked out of this family. I said nothing, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. I was making a bet that I was also a Reed. I could never figure it out. In my last life, after I was kicked out of the Reed family, I went back to my birth parents. I tried desperately to please them, learning to cook and giving them all my money. But why did they always look at me like I was a piece of garbage? Until one night, I overheard them whispering in their room. My birth mother said, "That girl from the Reed family gave us a pile of cash. She said to have someone pick her up tomorrow." My birth father said, "Good. Get her out of here. She's nothing but trouble." I was so stupid back then, I actually thought they'd found me a good home. Who knew that the people who showed up the next day were a group of bald, tattooed thugs? They dragged me onto a boat, and after endless torment, threw me into the icy ocean to feed the fish. In that last moment, I finally grasped a piece of the truth. But it was too late. Now I've crawled my way back from hell. And even if I lose this bet, I'm dragging everyone else down with me. The Reed family was the largest shareholder in this high-end private lab. So the test results came back with astonishing speed. A process that should have taken days was done in less than half an hour. When the lab director came out in his white coat, holding a secured tablet, Mia was the first one to rush up to him. "Doctor, tell us the results." The director ignored her and walked straight to my mother. "Ms. Reed, the first report is ready. The results confirm that Ms. Mia is, in fact, your biological daughter." I could feel Mia's eyes on me, filled with the smug satisfaction of a petty victory. The next second, her eyes welled up with tears, and she threw herself into my mother's arms. "Mom, I'm finally home. For the first time, A flicker of emotion crossed my mother's usually icy face. She awkwardly patted Mia's back. You've suffered out there. Leo shoved me aside and scurried over to Mia, his face a mask of flattery. So you're my real sister. Sis, I knew I liked you the moment I saw you. You're way easier on the eyes than that fake Chloe. My father stood by without any expression, but you couldn't miss the sympathy in his eyes. How nice. One big happy family. I blinked, feigning innocence as I looked at the lab director. Sir, what about my report? Mia is mal froze. She shrieked. It's already been proven that I'm the real daughter. There's no need to look at hers. She tried to stop him, but the director was faster. In the next second, the second report was displayed right in front of my mother. Ms. Reed, this report shows that Ms. Chloe is also your biological daughter. No. That's impossible. Mia screamed like a madwoman. You must have made a mistake. My mother snatched the tablet, her fingers trembling slightly. She stared intently at the conclusion on the screen. What is the meaning of this? The director quickly explained. Ms. Reed, our lab uses the best equipment in the world. Our accuracy rate is 100%. Therefore, the conclusion of this report is irrefutable. Mia lost it, pushing away from my mother and lunging at me to pull my hair. You did this. You must have bribed them. I dodged backward, my eyes instantly welling up with tears. Mom, I didn't. I would never do something like that. My mother shot Mia an ice-cold glare. That's enough. Haven't you made enough of a scene? Mia flinched, her hand frozen in midair. I took the opportunity to stumble back a step, pretending I was terrified of her. My mother's tone softened. Chloe has always been well-behaved and has never caused me any trouble. I know she wouldn't do something like this. With my mother's validation, I quietly smoothed out the wrinkles in my dress. See? As long as you play the part of the good girl, you still get rewarded. Mia muttered resentfully under her breath. Mom only had 2 kids. If I'm her daughter, and Chloe is her daughter, does that mean my brother isn't? Her words gave me an idea. I seized the opportunity and spoke cautiously. Mom, maybe we should test Leo too? Leo, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally jumped up from the sofa and pointed a finger in my face. You clear your own name just to throw mud on me? What are you trying to pull? I shrank back as he yelled, looking innocent and scared. I just thought, what if? My mother ignored his protests completely. Her eyes hardened as she gave a direct nod to the lab director. I watched as Leo was dragged away, kicking and screaming, to have his blood drawn. Your good days are over, Leo. The atmosphere was suffocating as we waited for the results. Mia was still trying to squeeze out tears, occasionally sneaking glances at our mother. I sat quietly beside my mother, like a well-behaved porcelain doll. Only Leo was pacing like a caged animal. The VIP room door finally opened. Leo immediately rushed forward. The results. What are the results? He nearly snatched the report from the director's hands. But he was still afraid of our mother, and knew better than to completely lose his composure in front of her. At least he wasn't a total idiot. Ms. Reed, the final test results are in. The director ignored him and respectfully handed the tablet to my mother. Mr. Leo has no biological relationship to you. The words struck like a bolt of lightning. Leo's vision went black and he collapsed. How could this be? My father, usually so timid, was trembling so hard he nearly slid off the sofa. I quickly stood up to support my mother, who was swaying on her feet, my voice thick with tears. Mom, please don't scare me. But she just spoke coldly to the director. Delete all security footage and test records from this facility. I don't want a 7th person to know what happened here today. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Beads of sweat instantly formed on the director's forehead. He nodded his head like a bobblehead. Yes, Ms. Reed. Inside the sealed conference room, there was a dead silence. The 5 of us were all thinking our own thoughts, none daring to speak first. Finally, my mother broke the suffocating silence. Tomorrow, I will issue a public statement. We'll say that our daughter was lost at a young age, and has only now been found. Mia will be formally added to the Reed family register. It was the exact same approach she'd taken in my past life. Mia opened her mouth as if to say something, But my mother's icy stare made her swallow her words. Leo didn't dare make a peep. It made sense. Even though he wasn't her son, my mother had saved him to protect her reputation. What more could he ask for? Chloe and Leo are both graduates of top universities, shining examples of their generation in Los Angeles. The Reed family name cannot be tarnished. Her gaze swept over each of us like a searchlight. In public, you will all act like loving siblings. Is that clear? We could only nod in silence. After everyone else had left, my mother asked me to stay behind. Chloe, you're the eldest. Mia just got here and doesn't know the rules. I want you to teach her. The Reed family standards must be upheld perfectly. I nodded obediently. Yes, mother. And while Leo may not share our blood, all of Los Angeles knows him as the sole heir to the Reed Corporation. Your responsibility is to pave the way for him. Do you understand? I lifted my head, my eyes brimming with tears that I stubbornly refused to let fall. I understand, mother. But inside, my heart was frozen solid. In my past life, I was cast out as the fake daughter. My mother had only kept me around at first to use me as a beautiful pawn in a marriage alliance, wringing out every last drop of my value. And now, even knowing Leo was an imposter, she still chose him out of her ridiculous pride and obsession with having a son. Looking at her perfectly preserved face, I finally let go of any remaining hope. My mother stood up, walked over, and reached out to wipe a tear from the corner of my eye. Her touch was gentle, but her eyes were cold as ice. Chloe, don't disappoint me. The family's official statement caused a huge stir in Los Angeles high society. Somehow, my mother managed to forge a DNA report for Leo. In the official announcement, the Reed family had fraternal twins and a long-lost daughter. She used her power to silence all the media outlets that were looking for a scandal, crushing them overnight. She would not tolerate a single whisper that might cause her to lose face. Although my mother had protected Leo, his insecurity and resentment festered inside him like a venomous snake. Late at night, I would often pass his room and hear him cursing through gritted teeth. It's all that bitch Chloe's fault. If she hadn't come back, I'd still be the revered heir of the Reed family. Now everyone's whispering about me behind my back. Mia was even more laughably stupid. Following my mother's instructions, I began teaching her how to be a proper Reed heiress. But she refused to learn, and the hatred in her eyes was sharp enough to be a weapon. We're both her daughters, so why did you get to live in luxury while I had to crawl through the mud? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be like some country bumpkin, having to learn everything from scratch. On the surface, I pretended to be hurt, but inside, I couldn't care less. I deliberately left the door open while I patiently taught her table manners and the names of luxury brands. I wanted every servant in the house to hear her crude and spiteful words. United by their shared hatred, the two idiots finally teamed up. Their revenge was as swift as it was stupid. I was just about to go downstairs for breakfast. Mia blocked the dining room entrance, her eyes red as she squeezed out a few tears. Sister, I know I'm clumsy and a slow learner. I'm sorry I made you mad. Please don't be angry with me, okay? I took a step back, feigning shock and confusion. Inside I was scoffing. Here we go again. The next second, she suddenly raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face twice. The sharp sounds echoed through the empty living room. Her face immediately turned red and swollen. She looked at me with teary eyes, the picture of a horribly wronged victim, but didn't say a word. I crossed my arms and watched her performance with amusement. My mother heard the commotion and hurried downstairs, only to see Mia crying and holding her face while I stood by, looking helpless. Leo immediately jumped in to support her. Mom, Chloe actually hit her. My mother's face turned livid. Just as she was about to scold me, I interrupted her, my voice trembling as I held back my tears. Mom, the dining room has security cameras. The color drained from Leo's face. He had forgotten. When he was little, he kept getting caught sneaking snacks from the kitchen, so my mother, in a fit of rage, had installed cameras covering every angle of the public areas. Thank God for that. Mia's face went deathly pale. The surrounding servants all lowered their heads, avoiding eye contact. She stammered, frantically waving her hands as she changed her story. Mom, it's a misunderstanding, a total misunderstanding. There was a mosquito. I was hitting a mosquito. My mother had the butler pull up the security footage. After watching it, she just said to Mia coldly, "Next time, don't be so stupid." Mia bit her lip and whispered, "I know, Mom." After that, those two morons started coming up with all sorts of ways to cause trouble for me. They were constantly trying to make me look bad in front of our mother. Their schemes were all laughably transparent. But I was done playing along with them. I didn't crawl back from hell just to play games with these idiots. I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. So that night, I timed it perfectly. Just as Mia finished her shower, I pushed open her bathroom door and locked it from the inside. The room was filled with steam and the warm scent of her soap. Mia, wrapped in nothing but a towel, let out a terrified shriek. What do you want?" When she saw me, she scrambled back into a corner, trying to act tough. "Don't come any closer. I'll scream if you do." I sighed, ignoring her threat, and leaned against the door, watching her with a calm amusement. "Little sister, I know you hate me. If I were in your shoes, having suffered so much for so long, I'd probably hate me even more." The defensiveness in Mia's eyes softened a little. She crossed her arms and looked away, but her tone was less hostile. "What are you trying to say?" I walked toward her, step by step, affecting a sincere, heart-to-heart expression. "Have you ever wondered why Leo's parents would switch their baby at birth? Wasn't it because they wanted their own flesh and blood to live like a prince in our family?" My words caught Mia off guard. She dropped her arms, though she still said stubbornly, "Even if you're right, I still hate you." I smiled, my voice even softer, more gentle. "That's okay. I just came here because I don't want to see you being used as someone's pawn while you happily count the money for them." I leaned in close to her ear. "You don't really think you could beat Leo, even if I wasn't here, do you? Even though he's not a real Reed, Mom is still planning to leave the entire Reed Corporation to him." Mia's head shot up, her eyes wide with shock. "That's impossible," she shrieked, then immediately clamped a hand over her mouth, terrified someone might hear. I took out my phone and played a recording. My mother's cold voice echoed in the small bathroom. "Leo may not be my biological son, but I raised him. The Reed Corporation will only ever be his." The color drained from Mia's face, and her body slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. "Mom is extremely biased toward her son. You and I can't change that. So, our common enemy was never each other. It's that imposter who's taken everything from us, Leo. As long as he's around, we'll never get our hands on the Reed fortune." I crouched down, looking directly into her hate-filled eyes. "You and I are both more entitled to inherit this family than some outsider, right?" Mia was trembling all over, the hatred in her eyes so intense it was almost tangible. "Right, you're right. Why should some outsider get everything?" She clenched her fists, repeating the words over and over, her whole body shaking. "I'll make sure he gets thrown out like a dog. If you want to completely destroy someone, you have to let them destroy themselves." Unfortunately, Mia didn't understand that. Her methods were still far too crude. If I hadn't been behind the scenes clearing the way for her, she wouldn't have even been able to get close to Leo. The funny thing is, in my past life, I was actually killed by this moron. Late at night, a scream pierced the silence, coming from downstairs. I opened my eyes, instantly realizing that the mad dog was finally biting. By the time I casually strolled downstairs, the servants were all gathered by the garage door, whispering among themselves. My mother's face was stone cold. I raised an eyebrow and pushed through the crowd. What a show! Leo, his clothes disheveled, had Mia pinned against the hood of his sports car, his hand raised to strike her. And on that flashy red limited edition sports car, there was a long, ugly scratch. Mia immediately started screaming, "Mom, Dad, Sister, help me. He's going to kill me." My mother's face instantly frosted over. She sharply ordered the servants away, then walked up and slapped Leo hard across the face. The slap finally seemed to sober him up. Still drunk, Leo clutched his already swelling cheek, his eyes darting away from our mother as he stammered an excuse. "Mom, I didn't mean to. It was her. She scratched my car first." But my mother didn't even bother to find out the truth. That's enough. Stop embarrassing yourselves here. Leo, go to your room. Mia, you go back to yours as well. Mia's crying stopped abruptly, a look of disbelief on her face. I immediately put on a worried expression and spoke up. Mom, I'll stay with Mia for a bit. She seems really shaken up. My mother glanced at me, nodded, and turned to leave. The moment the door closed, Mia wiped the tears from her face. She glared at the spot where they had disappeared. Why? Just because I'm a daughter and that imposter is a son? I just shook my head. Mia turned to me, confused. I looked at her and smiled. Did you really think your little tricks would be enough to change anything? These childish games won't hurt a single hair on his head. They'll only make Mom favor him more. Mia stared at me, dumbfounded. Do you know how Mom managed to snatch the entire company from her brothers back in the day? She shook her head instinctively. To destroy someone, you must first destroy their reputation. You create a scandal so huge it ruins them socially, making it known all over Los Angeles until everyone sees them as a pariah. Then, you play the innocent victim who was dragged down by them, and you win everyone's sympathy. I looked at her, speaking each word clearly. That is our mother's way. Mia's eyes lit up for a second before she suddenly became wary again. And you? What's in it for you? I gave a bitter smile, the light in my eyes instantly dimming. Mom only has eyes for her precious son Leo. Now that you're back, what little guilt she had will be directed toward you. And me? I'm nothing. I saw the flicker of triumph in her eyes and pushed further. I'm not asking for much. In the future, when you two inherit the family fortune, just give me a small piece of the pie. Besides, I could never compete with him before, and I can't compete with you now. Mia finally broke into a satisfied smile. She patted my shoulder, mimicking our mother in a pseudo-mature way. Don't worry, sis. When I'm the true master of the Reed family, I'll make sure you're taken care of. I lowered my head to hide the mockery in my eyes. After that, Mia and Leo suddenly became as close as real siblings. She used flimsy excuses like wanting to see the world to pester Leo into taking her out. I acted worried and hesitant. Mom will be angry if she finds out. Please, sis, just this once. I reluctantly agreed. All right, but don't go too crazy. I'll cover for you with Mom. After that, Mia and Leo were practically inseparable. She even came to me to boast, claiming she only went to fancy restaurants and that all the seedy nightclubs were Leo's idea. Eventually, Leo got a taste for the wild life himself. He started hanging out with a crowd of the most notorious rich kids in Los Angeles. Of course, I was the one who had quietly arranged for them to cross his path. He even took the exclusive black card our mother gave him and blew millions on models in a single night. I watched him spiral into the abyss without a flicker of emotion. Whenever my mother got suspicious, Mia would play the part of the good girl and smooth things over. Leo knows his limits, Mom. You don't need to worry. As expected, within just 3 months, Leo's eyes were bloodshot, and his body was bloated and puffy. Even my mother frowned when she saw him. She ordered him to stay home and get back in shape. But she couldn't control his untamed spirit anymore. He would obediently agree to her face, then turn around and sneak out to party, egged on by Mia. Until one night, when Mia furtively knocked on my door. Sis, look. It was a text from Leo, begging for help. Sis, someone set me up and took compromising photos. They're trying to blackmail me. The photos were disgusting. Leo was surrounded by several models, clearly out of his mind. A smug smile played on Mia's lips. She slowly typed back. What about that black card Mom gave you? Leo replied almost instantly, his tone desperate. Don't even mention it. Mom canceled all my cards. Without a second thought, Mia transferred him $2 million. She raised her eyebrows at me triumphantly. See, sis? Keeping him on a leash is way more effective than Mom's way, isn't it? I looked at her, so ridiculously stupid, and nodded with a smile. Then, I turned around and sent those photos to a paparazzi I had on my payroll. The next day, the front page of the biggest entertainment tabloid in Los Angeles featured Leo's face, hollowed out by alcohol and lust. Reed Air's wild nightclub antics exposed, raising questions about elite upbringing. When my mother saw the news, She was trembling with rage. She slammed the newspaper onto Leo's face. "You've disgraced this entire family." Interestingly, my father, who was usually so weak, spoke up for Leo for the first time ever, saying he was just a kid. My mother spent a fortune to bury the story and grounded Leo indefinitely. But Mia clearly wasn't satisfied. She secretly encouraged him to sneak out again to blow off some steam. And so the real destruction began. That night, at a star-studded charity gala, Leo, who had been cooped up for weeks, got completely wasted. When a famous actress refused to drink with him, he flew into a rage and attacked her in front of everyone. He not only tore off her clothes but also, in full view of everyone, urinated on her to humiliate her, beating her so badly she was seriously injured. After all that, he simply walked away, leaving everyone staring in horror. By the time Mia and I arrived at the police station, Leo was already in handcuffs. When he saw us, he started crying. "Sis, she was the one who led me on. I was drunk." He grabbed Mia's hand, babbling incoherently. Mia patted his hand soothingly. "I know." And I knew that Leo was finished. The next day, his name was on the front page of every media outlet. All of Los Angeles was calling for the scumbag's head. The moment the market opened, the Reed Corporation's stock price plummeted. In her study, my mother crushed the wine glass in her hand. "Just as I thought. An ungrateful stray you can't tame." She immediately called a press conference. She publicly announced that Leo was not related to the Reed family, and that they were victims in this situation as well. Then, she tearfully fabricated a story about how the real Reed son had been beaten to death years ago by his abusive, gambling-addicted adoptive father. Leo was officially disowned by the Reed family. With his multiple charges, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. As Leo was being led away, Mia was sitting on the living room sofa, leisurely sipping red tea. She raised her glass to me with a brilliant smile. "Sister, now it's your turn." I returned her smile with one of my own, pure and innocent. "Just another pawn, about to be sacrificed. What do you have to brag about?" The company's stock price continued to fall. My mother was so overwhelmed that she even started asking the Hayes family for help. One evening, looking exhausted, she called us together. "The Hayes family has agreed to help. However, they have one condition." Her cold gaze moved between us. "A marriage alliance." Mia froze for a second, then her face lit up with pure joy. "Is it with Carter Hayes?" My mother nodded. "We're meeting tomorrow at a private restaurant by the sea. I want both of you to be on your best behavior. Do not embarrass the Reed family. Carter will be there himself to choose." I sneered internally. See, this was my high and mighty mother. For the sake of profit, her daughters were nothing more than bargaining chips to be traded away at any time. As we left the living room, Mia deliberately bumped into me and warned me in a low voice. "A prize husband like Carter Hayes is out of your league. You'd better know your place and not try to compete with me." I almost laughed out loud. Mia, that idiot, only saw the glamour of the Hayes family. She had no idea that their fortune was long gone. They were nothing but an empty shell. And Carter Hayes, in particular, was worthless apart from his handsome face. In my last life, the Hayes family went bankrupt within 2 years. Worse, Carter was exposed as a volatile, abusive maniac. A treasure like that? No thank you. I was laughing on the inside. On the outside, my expression instantly changed to one of near tears as I took Mia's hand. "Sister, how could I ever compete with you? You suffered for 18 years because of me. I feel so guilty. Of course, a wonderful opportunity like this should go to you." Mia looked at me with suspicion. "You'd be that nice?" I immediately put on a hurt expression, tears welling up on command. "If you don't believe me, just wait and see my sincerity tomorrow." "Sister, we're family. Why would I ever try to hurt you?" The next day, at the private seaside restaurant, I deliberately wore a heavy dress completely unsuited for the ocean breeze, and caked on garish, heavy makeup. I slumped in my seat, looking completely listless. My mother immediately apologized to Carter Hayes, who was sitting opposite us. "My daughter is a bit rebellious. I haven't taught her well." I yawned, not even bothering to look at the man. When dessert came, I even started grabbing pastries with my hands and stuffing them into my mouth, earning a frown from Carter so deep he could have crushed a fly with it. Mia, on the other hand, was a vision in a white, ethereal dress, acting gentle and demure. She played the part of a delicate flower and successfully piqued Carter's interest. After the Hayes family left, thoroughly satisfied, my mother immediately pulled me aside and gave me a harsh lecture. "You have no manners at all. You've completely disgraced the Reed family name." I kept my head down, looking like I was about to burst into tears, but inside, I was sneering. Mia, however, was so pleased with herself she was practically preening. She linked her arm through our mother's and said sweetly, "Mom, don't be angry with my sister. She didn't mean it. Once I'm Mrs. Hayes, no one in Los Angeles will dare look down on our family ever again." My mother's expression finally softened, and she gave Mia's hand a rare, gentle pat. "At least you're good for something." I just lowered my eyes, hiding the scorn within them. "Go on, little sister. I hope you have a wonderful time at the Hayes estate." The wedding of the century between the Reed and Hayes families was a massive affair, and it finally stabilized the stock price. The first time Mia came home to visit, she was beaming. "See, sister? I won after all." I sighed with feigned envy. "You're right. Your husband is so good to you. If only I could also." Just those few words were enough. Mia's expression changed and she quickly dragged Carter away. After that, she never came back. Soon, the old guard at the company began to join forces to sideline my mother. The opportunity one had been waiting for had arrived. "Mom, do you know why they dare to do this? It's because they see no successor to the Reed family. They want to carve up our company for themselves. They want to push you out completely. Mom, this is the empire that Grandpa spent his entire life building. Are you really going to stand by and watch it fall into the hands of outsiders?" My eyes were red as I played the part of a loyal, devoted daughter. My mother let out a heavy sigh, looking tired for the first time. "I'm tired. You still have me." My gaze was intense. "I can be your shadow. I can fight your battles for you. Mom, I will never let outsiders take what belongs to the Reed family." My mother looked at me with a complicated expression. After a long pause, she said, "Chloe, you've grown up." From that day on, my mother began to fully support me. She wanted to give me a senior management position right away, but I refused. I started from the very bottom. In just 2 years, I rose to the position of executive VP, with several core projects under my control. At a board meeting, I brilliantly resolved a tricky merger case for her. My mother was pleased. That's my daughter. My mother's authority in the company was re-established. But even as she gave me more power, she constantly put me in my place, reminding me not to forget who I was. My father would just pretend not to notice, silently putting more food on my plate. But what she didn't know was that while I was securing difficult overseas acquisitions for Reed Corp, my picture was also starting to appear frequently on the covers of business magazines. My words now carried weight. By then, I had secretly consolidated most of the company's power into my own hands. 2 years later, on a rainy night, Mia appeared like a ghost and threw herself in front of my car. She was bone-thin, her arms covered in purple and blue bruises. "Sis, help me, take me home." "Carter, he's a monster." Mia's teeth were chattering, her eyes filled with nothing but fear. I sneered internally, but my face immediately showed deep concern. "Don't be afraid. You're home now. I'm here. No one will ever hurt you again." Once she had calmed down a little, I put on a troubled and helpless expression, speaking with difficulty. "But I just called home. Mom said that a married daughter is like spilled water. The Reed family can't afford to offend the Hayes family for your sake." Mia stared at me in shock. "What about Dad? What did Dad say?" I closed my eyes, unable to look at her. "Him? You know how he is. He just does whatever Mom says." Then, changing my tone, I gave her a glimmer of hope. "Don't worry yet. I have a safe apartment. I'll take you there to hide for a while." "Sister, don't be fooled by my success. The truth is, I'm just like you, a pawn in our mother's hands, working myself to death for her." I rolled up the sleeve of my silk blouse, revealing several faded purple bruises on my arm. They were from a self-inflicted ploy I'd used a few days ago to force a competitor's hand. "Sister, This is all I can do to help you. A drowning person will cling to any piece of straw. Mia believed me completely. She hugged me and cried like a child. Sis, I'm so sorry. I see now that you're the only one who was ever truly good to me. I personally drove her to the apartment on the outskirts of the city. But before she could even take a sip of hot water, the apartment door was kicked open by men from the Hayes family. The lead bodyguard sneered. Ms. Reed said the family doesn't want a disobedient daughter. Through the hidden cameras I'd installed, I clearly saw Mia's eyes instantly fill with poison. Leo spent a few years in prison and got out early for good behavior. Just as I expected. My father even tried to secretly arrange for him to leave the country. Unfortunately, my men intercepted him the moment he walked out of the prison gates. I had him knocked out and locked away. Everything was going according to plan. In less than 3 years, the Hayes family went completely bankrupt, and Carter's scandals were plastered all over the news. Mom, maybe we should bring Mia home? She didn't even look up from her work. She has served her purpose. She's of no use to the Reed family anymore. I feigned sympathy, but she is my sister after all. My mother cut me off impatiently. A married daughter is like spilled water. Chloe, the Reed family does not support useless cast-offs. She finally looked up. You are still too soft-hearted. You haven't learned a fraction of my ruthlessness. I lowered my head obediently. Yes, Mother. As I turned away, I pressed the stop button on my hidden recorder. Excellent. I sent the recording to a kind mate I had placed by Mia's side long ago. Don't disappoint me now, little sister. Sure enough. A few days later, a massive fire broke out at the Hayes family's hillside mansion. The fire raged for a day and a night, and Mia was the sole survivor. She had lost her mind. For the sake of appearances, I convinced my mother to bring my poor sister back home. But in this family, a crazy person has no status. If Mia wanted so much as an extra glass of milk, she was met with scorn. Useless thing. All you know how to do is eat. As for my father, he was practically invisible in this house. The night before the company's anniversary party, Mia stopped me. The constant torment had left her eyes empty and venomous. Sister, you'll be at the party tomorrow too, right? I nodded. I pushed a velvet box toward her. This is the gown I had prepared for you. No matter what, you're still a Reed. We can't have you looking shabby. Mia quietly closed the box without a word. She turned and left in silence. The next day, just before the party started, I accidentally spilled red wine on my dress. I had to stay behind to change, urging my parents to go ahead to the boat without me. But soon, I saw on the news that the luxury yacht they were on had exploded. When I arrived at the hospital, Mia had severe burns all over her body and was barely breathing. She desperately clung to a nurse's hand, insisting on seeing me. I looked at her face, which was burned beyond recognition. She used her last ounce of strength to speak. Chloe, is this what you wanted? On her deathbed, she had finally guessed the truth. But it was too late. My eyes were red from crying as I held her charred hand. Don't be silly, sister. All I ever wanted was for our family to be okay. A flicker of doubt crossed Mia's eyes, but it was overshadowed by resentment. She died with that resentment, taking her last breath. My father had been hit by a steel plate while trying to protect my mother, and he wasn't going to make it. Before he died, he grabbed my mother's hand and confessed the secret he had hidden his entire life. I'm sorry, Leo. Leo is my child. The shock and horror of it all drove my mother completely insane. To add to the irony, when the police were clearing the wreckage, they found the body of a young man. It was Leo. It turned out that before the crazy Mia detonated the bomb, I had made sure her most hated brother was tied up on that boat too. I stayed by my mother's side at the hospital for a month, never leaving. I played the role of the perfect filial daughter. Once her condition stabilized, I moved her to the most exclusive private care facility in the city. My mother couldn't accept the reality that her family was destroyed, and that her husband had deceived her for their entire lives. She spent her days in her room, screaming over and over, "Strays, they're all strays." Meanwhile, I had taken complete control of the Reed Corporation, and assumed the role of CEO. When my mother saw me in all my glory, she screamed hysterically, "You ungrateful child. You'll get what's coming to you." I smiled. Mom, the ones who destroyed our family were Mia, Dad, and Leo. Not me. I pretended to wipe away a non-existent tear. I'm just fulfilling your wish, trying my best to protect the Reed family. After all, you were the one who made me who I am today. My mother continued to scream curses at my back. But I never looked back. As for my so-called birth parents from my past life, they got greedy and went to Southeast Asia to work for a scam operation. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of the CEO's office, looking down at the bustling city below. Finally, everyone who ever wronged me has paid the price, and I have taken back everything that was rightfully mine and more. Starting today, a new era begins in this city. My era.